Welcome to Behind the Scrubs, Life of a CNA. This is your host, Will Fletcher. Thank you for joining us today. I had an entirely different topic in mind for today's episode, but with the influx of calls that I've been receiving and some of the visitors, I had to switch it up today. We had to call an audible if you any football fans out there. Some of the students and parents do not realize the importance of certified nursing assistants. One of the calls particularly, a young lady contacted our office wanting to more information about our medical assistant course or our phlebotomy course. And as usual, I gladly gave the information. But as I started asking questions, I found out that she eventually wanted to become a registered nurse. So I said, well, you can become a certified nursing assistant. I think that class will have the most value for what you're wanting to do in the near future. And her mom both like scoffed at the idea, like, "Ooh, CNA? How? What? Hell no!" And of course, I had to maintain some level of professionalism, and I realized that not everyone knows exactly what CNAs do. It's much more than emptying bedpans. It's much more than giving showers. And judging by their reaction of when I suggested CNA, I automatically realized that they had no idea what CNAs do. And they may not even know what registered nurses do, because as a registered nurse, you're going to be supervising, managing, orienting, training, mentoring certified nursing assistants. And if you're going into it with that attitude, like the way I took it is they were saying like CNA is beneath me. So when you get on the floor as an RN and you have that attitude, you're not going to have the best. You're not going to be able to manage your team effectively with that horrible attitude. That's the best way I can put it. I, I'm trying to be as positive, and I'm trying to be as positive as I can. It's a really important topic for me to discuss. I was a CNA before I became an LPN. And so I've had the opportunity to work with some great nurses, some horrible nurses. And then as an LPN, I remembered what I went through as a CNA, and it helped me become an effective manager. So today we're going to discuss some misconceptions about CNAs. We're going to have an honest discussion. The topic at hand for today is the lack of respect for the CNA designation. I have been in many rooms, and I don't want to say I heard it all, but I've heard a lot. The CNA goes through a lot. The CNA has many responsibilities, and the last thing they need is for their management team to not give them the proper respect that they earned and deserve. When CNAs are not treated respectfully, there is instantly an impact on the patient care that they provide. There's an instant disconnect for the entire team dynamic. So we need to dispel some common misconceptions right away. CNAs are not the help, right? Everyone has their place on the team. The doctor has his place. The RNs and LPNs have their place. Dietary has their place. Activities have their place. And therapy has their place. You can like or dislike certain dynamics of certain people's jobs, but I've been in healthcare since 1996, and the disrespect for the CNA is just mind blowing. Like nobody even advocates for the CNA. If there's quite a few that do. So let's break down some of the daily tasks that CNAs are responsible for. Again, it's much more than bedpans and bed baths. All right, they're responsible for making sure they're responsible for making sure your loved ones stay warm, dry, okay, clean, properly clothed. Make sure they get to every meal and back. Yes, toileting is involved. Okay, that is a big part of the job, but it's not the only part of the job. They make sure your loved ones participate in activities. Like the list goes on and on. They count and record vital signs. Okay, it's super important to know what someone's pulse is, respiration is, what the blood pressure is, what their pain level is. That's stuff that the nurse needs to know before they administer medication or before they hold medication or before they get the doctor involved. So I've worked places where the CNAs were trusted to get the vital signs, and I've worked in places where the nurses didn't trust the CNAs to do it, so they did all their own vital signs. I'm sure the CNAs didn't mind. That's less work they had to do. If it's in my scope of practice, I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to help all that I can to relieve that pressure and stress that the nurses already go. They have a lot to do on their own. They don't need to be doing extra work because they can't trust what I'm doing. So the respect goes both ways. There's a lot of skill required to be a great CNA. Okay, we're only discussing great CNAs, not okay CNAs, not average CNAs, not good CNAs. I'm speaking about great CNAs. Okay, the ones that are there for the right reasons. They are there to take care of their patients, their residents. They are there to help out their nurse and the whole team. So it's a lot of skill required. Nurse aid program could probably use some improvement, some enhancement, but you're not going to learn everything you need to know in a school setting. Most of the stuff that you learn will be on the job. Okay. So outside of what CNA class teaches you, okay, how to properly take a blood pressure, how often to turn and position a resident, how to recognize when someone is having difficulty swallowing. To be a great CNA, you have to have patience. You have to have interpersonal skills. You have to be able to communicate. You have to pay attention. You are the eyes and ears of the whole nursing department. You're going to be the first one to notice when something is outside of the normal for that resident. Doctors don't work in nursing homes. Usually there's maybe one nurse on the floor and multiple CNAs. So if I'm that one nurse, I'm depending on my CNAs to tell me what's going on with each individual. Is everybody breathing? Okay, good. Anybody bleeding? Even better. Okay, that's a great start to my shift. So the observation of the CNA is vital to the success of the entire operation. Okay, the relationship between the CNA and the nurse should be a great one. Not everybody realizes this, but as the nurse, you are responsible for everything the CNA does and everything they don't do. So why would we belittle these people? Why would we make them feel less than? As your license on the line, if they don't perform the way that they should or can't, that's just insane. Because we have to do better. And I'm not saying this everybody, I'm not saying this everywhere, but when I talk, like I said, I've been teaching CNAs for 12 years. I've had thousands of students, thousands of graduates. And this is the feedback that I get. The nurses are rude. They don't respect us. We're at the bottom of the barrel. And some of the time it's the individual. That's another topic. But for the most part, we can do a lot better. And I know it to be true because I was a CNA in their same position. I worked well with most of the nurses, but if I look back, there was a handful that was putting my freedom at jeopardy because, like, who are you talking to? Never mind. But like, it's crazy to me. Like, as a nurse, we have so much to do. So I'm gonna empower my CNAs, encourage my CNAs to do as much as they can within their scope to make my job that much easier. It just makes sense. Again, before I got into teaching, I worked in an assisted living facility. At the time, CNAs didn't have to be certified. So we were literally taking people off the street and training them to do, the job. And not everyone, one is a trainer. Not everyone is a trainer. Not everyone even needs to be a CNA. So there was a lot of a lot of stuff that wasn't making sense. I'm trying to stop from cursing as much. But if you look from the outside in and you say that is a great nurse, she is always well prepared, manages her stress, her patients, have great outcomes. 10 times out of 10, she has a great staff. She has a great LPN. She has great CNAs. Rarely will you see that level of success, that smoothness without a great team. So if you are thinking about becoming a registered nurse, there are some pros in being a CNA first. You get that direct patient care experience, build strong interpersonal skills, you develop empathy, compassion. Okay, you'll have an opportunity to practice your nursing skills in like a real live setting. You get hands-on experience, and you'll understand the healthcare system from literally the ground up. You'll learn to work with diverse individuals. Everyone in healthcare is not nice and polite. It's not going to be, like paradise. Some people are just miserable by nature, and there's nothing you can do about that. But we're all there to do a job, and you will learn to navigate through that. Not be abused, but you'll learn to navigate with the different styles of healthcare professionals. You'll develop effective communication skills. In our line of work, we need the information right away. Okay? We don't when you're look at your own situation. When you go to the doctor's office, the doctor himself or herself may spend about 10 minutes max with you. You're going to be at the doctor's office for 2 hours, 3 hours, and you've seen the doctor 10 minutes, fast paced. I need what I need and I'm gone. Same thing with the CNA and the nurse when you're giving your shift change notes. It's not a whole lot of time for filler information. Just give what we need and go on about your business. And then another pro is the fulfillment that you're going to get from actually helping someone, right? You get as a CNA, you're going to get none of the credit and all of the blame. It's like a lonely, thankless job at sometimes, but you'll receive fulfillment when you notice your resident feeling better, looking better, ambulating better, in less pain. Maybe it's not something you directly did. Maybe it was you noticed something, brought it to someone else's attention, and then they were able to get the assistance that they needed that you couldn't provide. You're going to make a tangible difference in patients' lives. You're going to build meaningful relationships with patients and families. It's all about relationships. Beyond what I'm talking about here, it is all about relationships. You hear me? You never know who the patient is. You never know who their loved one is. You don't know the influence they may have, and you always want to be, you always want to perform at your best, but you have to think outside of right now. Okay, I'm a CNA now, but you may wake up one day and decide you want to be an administrator or pursue your RN or pursue some entrepreneurial efforts, start your own home care or whatever the case may be. People you meet today can be clients. They can work in the state offices that is going to approve your application. They can be angel donors. They can be investors. Okay. They can be the gatekeeper to a network of potential clients. So you have to perform and behave for the job that you want, not for the job you necessarily have. Another pro is the flexibility in the work settings. CNAs work, my graduates work some of everywhere. When I became a CNA back in '05, all I knew was nursing home. That's all I knew. I didn't even know CNAs work in hospitals. Where I'm originally from, I don't recall having assisted living facilities. I didn't even hear that term until I moved to Georgia. So my options were nursing home, hospital, nursing home. And that was it. But now my students, of course, they have nursing home, they have assisted living facilities, they have home care, they have hospital, they the emergency department, they have urgent care. Some of my students are working at eye doctors. Like some of these places are just looking for people that are trainable, that have basic skill set to take a blood pressure, to weigh somebody, to answer a phone, to do a quick intake, fill out the intake form completely properly, and so my CNAs have many opportunities. They have some of my graduates have started their own businesses, personal care homes, or home care agencies. So when you hear people say, "Oh, I'll never be a CNA. They don't make no money." No, they didn't make money as a CNA, and the amount is the hourly amount you make is not the end all be all for the job you have. Right? It's not exactly how much you make, it's what you do with what you make, right? There are entertainers and athletes who've made millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions working at Starbucks right now. So it's not how much you make. Now, on the flip side of the pros, every day is not going to be paradise as a CNA. It's just not. It is a hard job. First con I have is it's physically demanding. Right? You're gonna be in shape if you're doing the job the right way. Okay, you gotta eat right, sleep good, stretch, warm up your muscles, okay? Because it's a lot of work, especially depending on the setting you work in. If you're in assisted living and everyone can move and shake on their own, then it's not going to be that difficult. But in a nursing home setting where every resident you have is dependent on you for every move they make, that's going to be some long, stressful days. So I, like many nurses, am also a massage therapist, and in the course that I took, they were huge on proper body mechanics. And I don't know if I covered it when I was becoming a CNA or if it was a topic when I was becoming an LPN. It should have been, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention. But when I became a massage therapist, that's all they talked about. If you want to have a long career and save your back, you gotta you gotta, if you want to save your back, you have to perform proper body mechanics. And I know I discussed low pay already, but it's super important that you ask for what you want, and it has to make sense. Don't walk in those people's office demanding to make just as much as the RN. They're gonna laugh at you, okay? But if they have a pay range for CNAs from $18 to $24, obviously everyone would want the $24, but it has to make sense, right? You have to be on time, you have to be present, you have to be a good teammate. You have to be able to communicate well. You have to be able to do your job well. Imagine, I mean, it happens because it's just the wacky world we live in. But someone late all the time, barely shows up for their shifts, getting complaints from the residents, not getting along with the nurses, not getting along with the other CNAs, walking in the office demanding it's possible, but it's not probable. There is a lot of stress that comes with this job. So you have to balance your work life and your home life. Okay? Come to work, give them the best 8 hours you have, clock out, go home, enjoy yourself, enjoy your family, read a book, listen to some music, take a nap, go for a walk, do something for you. Do not let this job or any job consume you. It will. We get into this mode. I just want to help. I just want to help. I just want to help. I gotta help. If I don't do it, who else gonna do it? No, that's you're abusing yourself. So self-care is extremely important. Again, to prevent burnout, you have to take care of yourself. Eat the right foods, exercise, whatever helps ease your mind. Legal, of course. Another con for being a CNA, some people have shared with me, is the limited scope of practice. And I understand that, but you have to understand the legal and ethical boundaries that each certification and each license carries. There may be simple tasks that you can do as a CNA as a adult human being, but it is not in your scope of practice, and you cannot legally do it, at the workplace. As silly as some of them may sound, like some places you can't put on the medicated cream on their bottoms. I know. Happens every day. But when students complain to me about the limited scope of practice, I could give them the same tips, advice, and conversation. So what's next? CNA is not satisfying your hunger. It may be time to start looking at nursing schools. It may be time to consider physical therapy. There are several jobs and occupations that make these facilities run. It doesn't have to be even in the nursing department. You can decide you want to be a social worker. You can decide you want to work in admissions. As a CNA, you can expand your skills. You're not just because you hold a CNA certification doesn't bar you from doing other things to enhance what you have going on. In Georgia, you can become a medication aide, take a short course. The prerequisite is you have to be an active Georgia certified nursing assistant, and then you take a short course and become a medication aide or med tech, and now you can pass medications at an assisted living facility. And they just recently added nursing homes. I learned about med tech years ago, and I never pursued it because I tell my students if the assisted living you're working for wants you to be a med tech, they'll train you to be a med tech, they'll pay for you to become a med tech. And then recently, I'm assuming right around COVID or right during or after COVID, somewhere around there, they added nursing homes to the medication aid job setting. And I'm like, now it has some value. Now we can discuss adding it as a course right along with our CNA class. We include it in the CNA class now. It was separate for a while, but now we just because why wouldn't you want to earn the extra money, get the opportunity to pass medications at a facility, and that may give you the motivation you need to pursue your RN degree. You notice I'm saying RN a lot, even though I'm an LPN. I do not advocate for my students becoming LPNs. For 40 years, they've been saying, "Oh, I heard they were getting rid of the LPN." That's not going to happen for several reasons. But imagine if you're the patient in a hospital, you're in pain, you hit your call light. "Hey, can I help you?" "Yes, can you send the nurse in? I need my pain medicine." Does the person laying in bed in pain, do they care if a RN, LPN, med tech, dog, goldfish, do they care who brings it? No, they want their medicine. So imagine working in a hospital as an LPN right next to an RN doing the same job, passing medications, charting, doing admissions, doing discharges, and then at the end of the week, you get your paycheck. You made a nice amount of money. I can live with this. And then you see the RN's paycheck, and you like, what the hell just happened? We did the same work, same amount of hours, no overtime, nothing crazy, and one of our check is 2,000. The other one's check is 4,300. It has to make sense, right? So I'm not saying like LPN is horrible. Don't do it because we all have different circumstances and we all have different lives. You may not be able to afford RN right now, or whatever the case may be. You may not be able to dedicate the time that you need, or the RN program is filled at your local college, but they have openings in the LPN program. Whatever, it's different for everybody, but I would say just like my teachers told me, you need your RN. There's so many more opportunities that are available to you. I don't regret it, but do I need to make time to go back and get my RN? Absolutely. I own One Breath CNA. I'm the primary instructor. I'm the primary instructor for the CNA course, and I have to hire a RN to be my program coordinator. Even though I know everything there is to know about the nurse aid training program in Georgia, up, down, front, back, A to Z. Nobody knows this stuff more than me. Been doing it 12 years. But I still have to pay a RN to be on my paperwork. Our medication aid course, I can't even teach it. Has to be a doctor, a RN, or a pharmacist. I came across an EMT course that we could have added to our course offerings. But as an LPN, I can't teach that course either. Doctor, RN, or paramedic or EMT. Go figure. So there are many, many, many more opportunities for RNs. Everyone loves the travel nursing, right? People, nurses are making six figures and not breaking their backs. They're just picking up assignments, contracts, work 12 weeks, sit at home for 6 weeks, whatever the case may be. There's so many opportunities out there for RNs. There are quite a few for LPN as well. But again, I always go back to the money. Like, do I want to make $30 an hour or $75 an hour? When you're doing any type of shift work, which is what CNA is, you're going to do an 8-hour shift, 12-hour shift. Some places, God forbid, they do 16 hours. Again, you have to prioritize yourself. Sleep is super essential. Time management. Okay, you can't just hump all day, work, 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 work. You're going to burn out. You're going to tire yourself out. You're going to injure yourself. You're going to injure the residents or patients. You're not going to be your sharpest, best self. My students will tell you all the time, one of my most often used phrases in my 6-week course is CNAs go on to become the best nurses for a multitude of reasons. Like, I'm trying to keep this episode less than 4 hours. So I can't get into every single thing that I bring up, but you're going to get the hands-on experience, the patient care hours from being a CNA. You're going to be familiar with nursing procedures. Hopefully you work alongside some great nurses and they can teach you some technique, some tools that help them get through school and get through the workplace, that will help them get through school and possibly help you at work. You're going to be more comfortable with patient interactions. I remember my first time by myself, like while you are in orientation or training with someone, everything is lovely. It's perfect. Like nothing can go wrong. That first day you're on your own, it's like all hell break loose. I worked night shift. So I would have to do rounds every 2 hours for people who are asleep, hoping they're asleep. And everybody doesn't want to be waking out of their sleep every 2 hours for you to, check and change them. So you got to have some tough skin, but you got to do it. You can't just leave them all night without checking on them because they will, look so peaceful sleeping. You're going to understand the dynamics of teamwork. You're going to get the experience of collaborating with many healthcare professionals. Like I said earlier, these facilities are more than just the nursing department. In assisted living, I was in everybody's business. I wanted to see what the billing person did, what's the responsibility of the salesperson, admissions coordinator. I want to see what the ED had going on. I wanted to be wellness director. That looked like a dope job. Company moved into an empty room we had. They provided therapy. Another gentleman came and provided activities, and that's where I got the idea to start doing CPR and first aid training. I'm like, this is a building full of people that need the CPR and first aid certifications to do their job. They have to have it, whether they want to or not. And I started researching. Well, I'll be honest. I was done with nursing. It was just one bad situation after another, and I was looking for another job. And every job that I was interested in, CPR and first aid was required. So as I'm sitting there going through all the requirements for each job, probably about 30 different jobs, and I'm like, the CPR person is the one who is getting to the money. I was currently sitting there not certified in CPR. So even to go back to be a nurse, I would have had to find a CPR trainer. And one thing led to another, and I opened One Breath CPR, and I built that up while I was working as an assisted living director. And then by the time I got to massage school, I was able to pick up more clients. And then when I actually started teaching nursing assistants, I was an asset to the school. They thought that, the school I worked for was taking advantage of me, or so they thought. I was charging $50 at the time for CPR class for each person, but they made it part of my job. So instead of getting $50 per person, I was still getting the $20 an hour that they were paying me. But they had no idea. They had no idea who I was, like my hustle. Every person I train, I'm collecting their name, email, and phone number for the CPR roster. So you're taking advantage of me now, but when these people have to renew or when they leave our school and go to this job or this job or this facility, does anybody know anyone to do CPR? Oh, Will did mine. Call him. And while they thought they were running the game on me as if I was slow, they were helping me win the whole time. And then the same thing happened with me being a CNA instructor there. They originally started paying me to teach the one course, CNA. And then as I was there more and more, they realized that I could take payments, I can sell, I can talk on the phone, I can coordinate open houses. And they were using me to do all of this stuff for the same $20 an hour that they would have had to pay someone else, thousands of dollars for. But it was paid training for me. Everything that they thought they were doing to take advantage of, this young gentleman who didn't know any better, they were actually helping me build my empire. I know that doesn't have anything to do with the topic today. I'm sorry about that. But everything you do has to be in preparation for the next thing you do. So I could have cried about not getting my proper payment, or I could have just refused to do it. And then where would I be? I would not have learned everything that was necessary for me to step out on my own, create One Breath CNA, which has now transitioned into One Breath Academy, where we not only offer CNA now, but phlebotomy, medical assistant. Probably going to be offering mental health technician pretty soon. All right. So it's the same with you. If you're going to be a CNA, learn how to talk to difficult residents, learn some techniques on how to provide activities of daily living for people with dementia. Maybe specialize in that, right? Maybe create a business out of that where you train other people on how to deal with people with difficult behaviors. Doesn't even have to be dementia. Okay, there's so many options. As a CNA, you're gonna you're gonna have the opportunity to connect with patients on a personal level. Like I was saying before, the doctor you had a 2-hour doctor visit, and the doctor was literally in front of you for 7 minutes. The CNAs, that's not the case. You're gonna spend the most time with the residents, so you have that opportunity to connect with them. They're going to share all types of things with you. And the more they share with you, that will help you take care of them, right? Anytime something's going on, they're going to let you know. But if you don't build that relationship, you don't have that connection, they're not going to share much with you. You'll have the opportunity to work on your patient education and family communication. Now, again, you have to stay in your scope of practice and only answer questions that are within your scope. If they start talking about medication or admissions, discharges, or wound care, definitely refer them to the nurse. But if they're asking about anything under your scope, any activity of daily living, did mom eat? Has she been able to get to back and forth from her bed to her chair? Things of that nature. Does she participate in activities? You can answer those. Okay. And again, that's less that the nurse has to do. By working as a CNA, like I tell all my students, like, give the nursing home 6 months of your life. That is all the training you're going to need. You're going to see so much stuff and be subjected to so many different situations. You're going to really see what's what and if nursing is even for you. I think every college should make CNA a prerequisite for nursing. One, to combat some of this "I'm better than you" attitude. Okay, that's one. But secondly, you need the exposure to the environment to see if you even like it. Imagine spending thousands of dollars on college and then you get to clinical and realize you don't like blood. You can't stand to see the sight of vomit, or someone gagging bothers you, or you don't like needles, whatever the case may be. But as a CNA, you're going to be subjected to so many different things. You're going to know pretty quickly if pursuing your RN is in your cards. So respecting the CNA, it goes a long way. If you are a nurse or administrator and the resident or patient is high priority for you, it is in your best interest to treat your CNAs well. A person that feels appreciated will do a better job. That is just human nature. If you tell someone they're less than, if you tell someone that they're stupid, if you tell someone that they're no good, for some people, that's exactly what they'll become, and that's what they'll stay. So you have to empower, you have to encourage, you have to educate your staff. Again, there's a ripple effect. When the staff is respected, the performance of the whole team improves. The work environment is a positive one. People actually want to come to work. I worked in places like, again, both sides, depending on who was working. Like if it was my off day and they asked me to pick up a shift, I would say, who else is on the schedule? Depending on the names they said, okay, I'm on my way, or no, I ain't gonna be able to do it. Staff that is respected and appreciated stay longer. That will decrease your turnover rates. The whole industry has an issue with turnover. Home care, assisted living, nursing homes, hospitals, clinics. Not one setting has figured out how to keep people. It's not always money. It's rarely money. Okay, they want to work in a positive environment. They want to be appreciated. They want to feel like they're making an impact on the day to day of the. They want to feel like they're making an impact on the whole journey. They just want to feel like they're making an impact. Many of my students go on to become mentors for new CNAs at the jobs they're at. Some of them even get the title lead CNA or CNA 1 or whoever the trainer is for new CNAs. My students get that. And that's what I wanted for my students when I first opened One Breath. I can be like many of the other schools, sell a course, move on to the next. But one of the reasons why I got into teaching is because I seen the need, and I can only affect the facility that I work in, on the unit that I work on the shift that I work. But by teaching, I can pour everything that I have into everyone that sits across from me. And now there's a bunch of mini Will Fletchers out in these healthcare streets. So that's why I do it, and that's why I continue to do it. But I can't do it alone. I need some of you nurse practitioners, some of you RNs. I need you to advocate for your CNAs. Okay, you know in some of these places, deep down in your heart, they're not being treated right, they're not being trained right, they're not being paid right, and you have a voice. I tell my students, like, in many of these places, the nurses are like deities or gods. It's what they say go, and many times people are just selfish. If it doesn't involve them, they don't mind their bit. They mind their business and turn the other cheek. But not having properly trained CNAs, not having properly motivated CNAs, that is going to affect your work eventually. So you want to support the CNAs when you can, mentor them, right? Here we go. If you are working along a young lady or a young man and they have been a CNA for X amount of years, obviously they like it, talk to them. See what is stopping them from pursuing higher education. If you're a great CNA, you can go on to become a great nurse. Some people just don't know where to start. Okay, there's a fear in the unknown. If you've been a CNA for 5 years, you know what to do in your sleep every day. No, whatever happens at work, you've seen it. It's gonna be. There's no challenge too big. Oh, only one CNA showed up today. All right, well, we gotta make sure everybody eat and make sure everybody is dry. Everything else, we're gonna worry about that tomorrow. There's nothing that can bother you. So imagine that CNA going to become a nurse. You're going to be battle ready. You're going to be war ready. You're going to be ready to take on anything. You know how valuable that is for a nurse to be able to handle every situation because they've seen it? Do you know how happy I would be for my staff if they can handle all the fires on their own without having to call the DON, without having to call the manager on duty, without having to call the ED, the administrator, the owner? So there are many ways you can grow and develop your career as a CNA. It doesn't even have, again, as a CNA, you can do consulting, you can talk, you can be an advocate for people who are CNAs. You can be a liaison or you can join the ombudsman office. There's so much you can do. Do not let anyone belittle your certification. Why are you going to be a CNA? Because I want to. That's why. Right? People tell you what you should do with your life. And you got to take it with a grain of salt, especially if they never pursue what you're trying to pursue. How can someone that's never been a CNA tell you you wouldn't like being a CNA? Doesn't make sense, does it? Nurses, again, you can implement some team building activities in your facilities. You could recognize and celebrate the contributions of your CNAs. You can start educating your patients and the patients' families about the importance of your CNAs. Okay, many times the public, the patients, the families, they take on the demeanor of the RNs and the management. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see there's a disconnect between this group of people and this group of people. So the patient feel like they got to pick a side. There should be some type of system in place where the patients can offer their feedback on the care that they received from the CNAs. So we know what we're doing well in and we know where we need some improvement. And I'm not putting all of the responsibility on the nurses because sometimes it's the culture, right? And the culture comes from CEO down. So you have to talk and you have the when you're giving advice, especially if you don't have a specific person sitting across from you, you have to talk in a manner that that person understands, right? So talk to the CNAs. I've talked to the nurses. Now I'm talking to the employer. And at the end of the day, it's a business, and we know businesses have to make money. So there's a huge financial impact on not retaining staff. The money we spend in training, background checks, TB tests, uniforms, fingerprints, paying them for training when they're just shadowing someone, that all costs money. So there's just dollars out the door. If you put a CNA through all of that new hire orientation and on the floor training for them to just quit because they're being bullied or because they're not being respected or they didn't get proper training, so they feel inadequate. So now we got to do all that again. Spend time recruiting, hiring, training, and it's just a never-ending cycle. It's just money going out the door. Or you're trained. Some of the nursing homes offer CNA training. So that's an even bigger financial impact. This person is soaking up weeks of your time, and then they take their talents elsewhere. So it's just something to think about. The continuity of care suffers. These residents are getting new caregivers day after day after day after day. They grow tired of it pretty soon. Like, damn, who in here now? Right? This is an intimate job we have. Some people don't want to be seen, in a vulnerable position or naked, by a stranger every day. I mean, they get used to it when it's the same person or the same two people, or maybe, depending on what type of shift they are, 3 shifts, maybe 3 people, day in and day out. We have a responsibility to our residents to provide that continuity of care. We want to create a positive work culture where growth and development is encouraged. Encourage peer-to-peer appreciation. That's a good one. Implement fair treatment policies. Developing clear guidelines for workplace conduct. You don't want your staff guessing on what we're doing next. Everything should be in a policy and procedures manual. And when I say opportunities for growth and development, I need to add equal opportunities because not all of these places provide equal opportunities. I keep using myself as an example as not to, call anyone out, but maybe some of you have been through this too. I was one of the staff nurses at a assisted living facility. Our wellness person quit. Our wellness director quit. In a perfect world, I'm next in line for the promotion. I've been there the longest out of the remaining nurses. I work the first shift. I have a relationship with all of the vendors, the families, the residents themselves, with the pharmacy. I was the backup to the person before they quit. So ideally, it would be a natural shift. But many of you know where I'm going with this story. They didn't tell me no, the job wasn't mine right off the bat. They allowed me to do the job until, they officially offered it to me. They never offered it to me. They never were going to. They allowed me to do the job, set up interviews for what I thought was to replace me. This is how slick some of these people can be. Told me to my face, hey, tomorrow you're going to be training with Sharice. Show her how to do everything you did. Sharice came in the next day. We talked and we started training and orienting, and this is what I do, and I do, and I do. That's how I do it. This is the best way to do it. You're going to find your own rhythm, whatever. You know how it goes. And she said, you know everything. Why didn't you take the job? What job? Yeah, they just made me wellness director. I was floored. I hurt. And it was not Sharice's fault. There was a job available. She applied for it and she got it. My beef was with, my employer. So it is another topic, another episode. That's definitely going to be a good one too. Can't wait to hear your comments and feedback and your experiences on that. And then I know anytime there's money involved, there's going to be some pushback because budgets are set. And if you're just adding stuff in, it got to be a meeting about the meeting, then to ultimately say, no, we don't have the money to do it. We got money to keep having all these meetings, but we don't have the money to do what you suggested. So some non-monetary ways to improve job satisfaction and have flexible scheduling. Some of these employers are so strict and rigid with the schedule. Like it's unbelievable. Like people have lives, they get sick, they have children, they have parents, they have other stuff. They may have second jobs, they may have started a business. And it seems like some of these employers like intentionally get in the way of their employees having a life outside of the workplace. And that is part of the reason why it seems as if nobody wants to work in 2024. People got shit to do. Offer more part-time opportunities. Do like they do it in a school, like student of the month, do CNA of the month with some type of award attached to it. Not just don't keep just giving pizza parties. We sick of pizza parties. Organize a social event or outing. I know, like um, when I worked at a call center, they were great at doing it. Like we went to Dave and Buster's for I think it was like a winter gathering. Can't call it a holiday party and stuff like that. But we went to Dave and Buster's. Where else did we go? The one place I worked for, the owner took everybody to Papa Do's. It's just little stuff like that, and it has nothing to do with putting money in your pocket, which is what most people would prefer, but it's better than a damn pizza party. So before I wrap, I just want to make sure that I've hit everything that I needed to hit to make it a better experience for everyone involved. We have to start educating other healthcare professionals about the importance of CNAs and the responsibilities that they have. They're just not there to change bedpans and give bed baths. Okay, maybe create, if you don't already have one, create a newsletter, and one of the topics of the newsletter, or one of the sections of the newsletter, is sharing a success story of a CNA that's making a significant impact either at the workplace or in their own community. I am going to say this for the duration. If you are considering becoming a nurse, either LPN, RN, or nurse practitioner, start as a CNA. Some programs are 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Mine is 6 weeks, but that's nothing compared to the value that you're going to get from the program and the experience you're going to get once you get into the workplace. And you could possibly save yourself 2, 3, 4 years of time, right? Imagine going through nursing school and then discover you don't like nursing. You want to be a YouTuber instead. Whoever paid for your education is going to be upset with you. I was thinking about this one last night. How would a CNA to RN bridge program work? CNA to LPN may be more realistic, but again, I just thought of it last night. I haven't sat down and jotted down the pros and cons and could it really work. Haven't thought about it, but it's worth visiting. And then what I'll do on my platform, I'm on Facebook a lot. I'm 46 years old. I haven't leveraged TikTok as much as I should, but on my podcast and when I go live on Facebook, I like to share the success stories of my CNA students who have gone on to become nurses. I think that will motivate some of our CNAs to keep on pushing. Another tagline of mine: when we have the opportunity, maybe monthly or quarterly, bring in guest speakers who started off as CNAs and have went on to do other things and become successful business owners or nurses. Or one of my students, she started as CNA and now she is the executive director of the first facility she ever worked in. She went from CNA to activities to sales, and from sales to ED, and she's been ED over there for like 5 years now. Definitely going to get her on the show to talk about that journey. I'm interested to hear it myself. Another thing I have done is I created a Facebook group for CNAs. I've joined the Facebook group as well, but I want you to share your career journey so we can each one teach one, right? Every story is valuable. You never know who's going to resonate with, who you're going to help. So I encourage you to share, share, share. I wrote a book from student to teacher, and I put some of the obstacles that I went through in the book on my way to, where I am now. And like for every one that I listed, I probably could have listed 10 more, but I didn't want the book to go in that direction. I wanted to be like motivational, not like Oh my God, never. So if you are a nursing student, if you're early in your nursing student journey, look for a CNA program. It's not going to hurt. It can only help. If you, especially if you end up working alongside some pretty decent nurses and you tell them you're in nursing school, they're going to love you. They're going to be showing you all kind of stuff. You know, you got to be careful to stay within your scope, but you can still observe. If you're already a CNA, again, I'm going to say it over and over and over. You can do some professional and personal developing, career development, get a plan. Like I said, I'll say it again. A CNA is not for everyone. Nursing is not for everyone. Healthcare is not for everyone. But you have to find what works for you, what you're interested in. Another one of my students, she started out as a CNA and then went there and seen a void and filled it. Nobody was coming to do the hair for the residents. So she would do the hair for the residents on her assignment. And then, of course, everyone started to notice. And then some of the other residents wanted their hair done. And, one thing led to another. And she eventually went and got licensed. And that's what she does now. CNAs add so much value to the team. You just have to be able to communicate that value to your employer and to your RN manager. And RNs, the CNA needs to be in on the care plan meeting. I don't even understand why they wouldn't be. There's questions on there about how the resident ambulates. And you're going to go by what the last evaluation said or what the family member said, but not ask the person that's in there every morning, getting them out of bed. Well, thanks, guys, for listening. Sorry for talking your ear off, but I appreciate your support, and I encourage you to go out and thank a CNA. If you are a CNA, pat yourself on the back. If you're thinking about becoming a CNA, what are you waiting for? Okay, I challenge you to recognize a CNA's contribution this week. Okay, let them know that you see them, that you love what they're doing, that you appreciate them. And everyone who is listening to this, I encourage you to speak up against CNA disrespect. I know on social media, jokes are jokes, but sometimes, it's not always a joke, right? Like the meme I seen the other day. I don't care about all those little CNA jokes. I touched 5 bands as a CNA this month, or 10 bands at 10,000 a month for as a CNA. I like saying stuff like that. Also, if you are working in a place that employs CNAs, I want you to implement one positive change in the workplace that will benefit your CNAs. I want you guys to share with me your stories about how the workplace has made you feel valuable or how they can improve on helping you feel valuable. Now, for the next episode, I already have it outlined and ready to go because I was prepared to do it tonight. But this one, after that last phone call, I was like, there ain't no way. So my next episode, I'm going to talk to you about how to prevent. For the next episode, we're going to talk about how to prevent workplace burnout. And thank you if you made it this far. Thank you so much. We love you too. And thank you for listening to Behind the Scrubs, Life of a CNA. This is Will Fletcher, host of One Breath. This is Will Fletcher. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.